Hi, and welcome to Divine Radio. My name's Katie Jones, and I will be your host. First thoughts are probably, what does Divine Radio mean? Who is this chick, and why should I listen to her? Which are all completely valid questions. Well, ultimately, I am just another soul having a human experience, and I know that's so cliche to say, but it's because it's true. That's why we're all here. That's what I believe. And I think most of you who are going to resonate with what I'm saying will agree with that. We all chose to be here. We all chose to come here, especially at this powerful time and shift in consciousness, because we knew that there was something really amazing and beautiful to gain from it. And I'm hoping that by sharing some of my experiences and my journey and my perspectives and insights that, maybe it can help some of you along your journey. I think this is falling. There we go. So yeah, I want this to be as raw and open and authentic and as transparent as it possibly can be, because I think it's only from that place that people will really be able to resonate and realize they're not alone on this with whatever they're going through. We might be all on our own unique journeys, having our own unique experiences, but we're all here for the same purpose, especially at this time, I feel. We're shifting into a higher level of consciousness, and I believe most of you that will resonate with anything that I'm saying are going to realize that or recognize that. And I felt called to record this because I've been on a lifelong journey of self-healing and learning and growing, and we all have, but I've always been very conscious of it. Always trying to find the hidden meaning or reason behind why something might be happening. And there are times where I probably took that too far, and drove myself a little crazy with it, but that's okay. It was all a part of the process, and it was all a part of me learning how to interpret and understand and kind of see the higher perspective of life and why I'm here, and ultimately why I think we're all here. Just like all of you, I've made mistakes. I've have regrets that I've worked through. It's taken a lot for me to even get to this point, to be able to sit here, record myself speaking, sharing my truth, speaking my truth, and the divine wisdom that I've received. We all have our own truths. We all are receiving this guidance and wisdom. Some of us are just a little more conscious of it, a little more in tuned. I am a double Pisces, rising Virgo, in case anybody is wondering or curious. But yeah, it's always just been this innate drive within me to understand life and its purpose, and even more importantly, to work through my wounds, my shadows, my darkness, to ultimately start living up to my potential. And I feel like every step has led me, closer to my potential, but I feel like this is really the beginning for me. I've always been that advice giver, intentionally and unintentionally, sometimes to the resentment of others around me because they weren't necessarily asking for it. So I've had to work through that as well. Man, I mean, I've worked through a lot. We've all had to. But in the past couple of years, when I was really going through a lot of deep healing, like that final release of all of this kind of karmic cycle that I've been going through of not feeling worthy and not feeling good enough, and playing small and afraid to share my voice and my truth. But in that process, I would meet some people, whether it was work colleagues or just random friends, where they were all encouraging me to do this. Again, we would just be talking and they would tell me about what's going on in their life, and naturally I would just go into the higher perspective. It's like, okay, why are they experiencing that? What is the lesson here? And that's just the way my brain's always kind of worked, especially okay, cut off. This was doing this before. So maybe I was rambling in the wrong direction. So I'll try and sum that up. Anyways, they all were encouraging me to do this because I guess whatever I was saying was shifting their mindset or their perspective on a pattern or an experience that they were having that they just couldn't kind of figure out on their own. As they say, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that made that problem. And not to say, not putting anybody down, because again, we are all going through this, but sometimes you do need maybe a third party outside perspective to help you kind of help a seed get planted and maybe help you start viewing things in a different way. I know I've had plenty of my own experiences with that through books I've read and videos I've read and, just random events that have happened throughout my life that, have helped me kind of understand what that was, or what it was I was meant to see or understand or heal. So, yeah, I mean, as we go through this, I've got different topics that I'm going to touch on. All of them so far have come to me through meditation, which is not something I've always been able to do, but recently I think with the shift in, just the shifts in the energies of the cosmos, it's like I feel like everything is finally lining up and aligning and allowing me to tap into it without overthinking it. That's another thing I've had to work through. And yeah, they're based on they're all based on something I personally kind of like channeled or received or experienced, or, conversations I've had with friends or a random person that like led to this new train of thought that I just feel is important to share right now. Because we are going through a very chaotic, confusing, and slightly destructive time. And my belief is that it's because we're shifting from one age into a new age. For more specifics, we're shifting from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And with any major age shift like that, it's going to have a lot of chaos and destruction and confusion, because the old ways that have worked for certain people for centuries is no longer working. And I think all of us, most of us who are watching or listening, can feel that, and we know that. People are waking up, people are starting to become more aligned, people are not allowing certain, ways of life, corruption, greed, destruction, manipulation. They're not tolerating those things anymore. And they're standing up for themselves. And for many, that's the first step to kind of understanding their value and their worth and their power. And that's a really beautiful thing to be seeing and to be a part of right now. We're very lucky, believe it or not, lucky to be here right now, because I believe there's many souls who wanted to come down during this time, but we were the chosen ones. All of us, every single person on this planet, every single one. There was a reason for it. So, might be getting a little sidetracked, but I'm just trying to let this flow and let what comes out come out, and trust that it's what is meant and needed to be said. So, yeah, it's, I plan to touch on all sorts of topics, from the spiritual side, the relationship between the mind and the heart and soul, current events, past lives, emotions, maybe a little bit of politics. I know that's kind of a trigger word for a lot of people, especially spiritualists, but the thing is again, it's all happening for a reason. There's someone once kind of helped me understand there's no such thing as good or bad. It's just what it is, and it's happening. And even though it's easy to kind of say that that's bad or that's imperfect, everything that's happening is actually perfect in its own way, for some way, somehow. And we may not always understand that, but again, that's a part of this perspective shift. And, you know, for somebody who is trying to create more peace and harmony within their lives, that's a perspective that you will want to eventually get yourself to. But you got to work on what's not in harmony within yourself first before you can even really truly begin to see it that way. And that's what I hope to help you with. Again, I'm not coming from any kind of like guru perspective, or, you know, I think it happened again, and that's why it keeps shutting off like that. I don't know. I'm just here to help you from one soul to another, because one thing I've always wanted was for people to find their happiness, and myself included. And happiness can be a trigger word or a confusing word, because a lot of times we think it means that we have to reach some end result in order to feel that. And that's just not the case. You can feel happiness, peace, joy in any moment. And that's something I'm still kind of actively working on, but I feel like I've gotten to a point in my journey where I'm able to start sharing what I've been through and what I've learned, in the hopes that it will inspire you along your journey and help you make the shift. I was reading this book recently. I just finished it this morning, actually, called The Lemurian Way. I've been very drawn to Lemurian. Within this book, the Lemurian Way, it's talking about, oh, I lost my thought. Maybe I wasn't meant to say that. Okay, we'll keep going. Yeah, I want to help you. And in the process, it's helping me too. You know, we're all constantly learning from one another and evolving together. And I truly believe the more of us that do this, the better off this world is going to be. That's what I was going to say. Not sure if there's a reason that this keeps cutting off when I'm about to say that one thing. So maybe I'll save that for another time. If you're really curious, you can reach out and I'll tell you. But yeah, I want to help you. I want to help make this world a happier, more harmonious place. And it all starts with the individual self. But I think that's, you know, when those individual selves who are on their journey come together, that's when that energy becomes more powerful. And that's one of the things I'm hoping to create with this, a community of sorts, of those of us who are actively working on ourselves to, you know, achieve a more balanced, happy state. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the topics are going to be all over the place. Like I'm not planning them in the sense, like I'm not using my logical mind officially. I'm allowing the messages that I feel called to share, I'm allowing those to just be received, and trusting that that is what needs to be heard at this exact time, whenever it gets shared. I do and will be talking about certain topics that might be triggering to you, or anybody, and I will do my best to warn you that that's what the episode's going to be about. But just, I hope you'll know and understand that anything I say that might trigger you is not meant to cause you any harm or pain. My intention is to help you grow. And one of the things I've learned is that if something's triggering you, whatever it is, it's because it's something within you that wants to be healed, that wants to be seen and acknowledged and ultimately released. Actually, the next episode, the first official episode where I'm discussing a specific topic, is about that, and about an experience and a conversation I had with my friend where she was being triggered by something, and ironically, something she was bringing up to me was triggering me, and I just kind of had one of those breakthrough aha moments. So yeah, just know that if I trigger you, it's okay. You can be mad at me, you can feel all the feelings, whatever it is, but just know that that's not my intention. I don't want to cause anybody hurt or harm. And then I hope that maybe you will give it some time and take a look at it and try to understand what it is that is bringing that up within you. Because although it's good and helpful to seek outside assistance and guidance, ultimately the only person who's ever going to be able to heal and cleanse and release those things within you is yourself. But it's kind of a beautiful journey, honestly, especially once you kind of feel that you're able to take control and take ownership of that and move forward with that with confidence and trust within oneself. And that's taken me a long time to get to. So if you feel like you're struggling with it, don't worry. The fact that you're even trying to make these changes is massive. You know, there's so many people who just aren't there. And I hope they do get there one day in this life, but you know, maybe it's not their time for it. So, and that's okay. That's okay. Like I said earlier, we are all perfect and perfect exactly as we are at every moment in time. In the eyes of the divine, we are all perfect. We are all playing our part and our role in this whole life experience, the positive and the negative. So yeah, I just want to help you shift your perspective. And again, I want to help kind of create a community of those of us who are on this journey. I know I've definitely felt pretty alone in many cases, and it is a solo journey in many ways, but I know there's more of you out there who are feeling these things and are doing the work, and it would just be really lovely to have more people who kind of understand what I'm talking about. Trying to think, I think that might be it. Let's see if anything else comes through. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the other side of it too is I want to ensure that like I'm offering these things in kind of practical, understandable ways of integrating that into your experience. You know, I think that's something that I did struggle with when I was first kind of really like having my reawakening and getting into this, was that either there weren't great examples, like real life examples to base it off of, or yeah, it was just too heady, too woo-woo, and you know, woo-woo in the sense that it just seemed like a bunch of words, and it wasn't necessarily easy to understand how that connected and related to my life, especially if it was the first time you're reading these things. And I do think that is kind of the downside to some of the spiritual teachers, guides out there, is that, you know, they've maybe been doing it so long and they've kind of got their normal routine, their normal speeches kind of figured out, or they've been doing it so long that they've forgotten how to bring it down to earth for the rest of us. And I'm really hoping that I can help do that for those who are maybe struggling with that. Again, what I'm saying may not resonate with some people, and I fully accept that, and I'm okay with that. But I do think there's something to be said about teaching these things and presenting these things in kind of practical real life examples in that way. I personally have always learned best with like examples just throughout my life in any way. You know, when you just spit a bunch of words at me that don't necessarily have a direct meaning or connection for me, it's easy for me to kind of get lost. And I think many people kind of struggle with that. So that is one of my intentions as well for this. And yeah, I think that's it. If something else comes up, I'm sure I'll find a way to bring it into, you know, another episode or topic or whatever. But this is me, and I feel like I have value to share, and I feel like I was guided and called to be doing this. And I hope if anything I've said resonates with you, you will come back and join me for future episodes. I know at some point I would love to start bringing people on, whether it's friends, maybe eventually experts, or people who inspire me. But I also have thought about bringing on listeners, people who are maybe going through a specific situation that they just can't seem to shift their mind around. And I feel like I've always excelled as far as like this kind of conversation in one-on-one experiences. And so if at some point you feel called, or you're struggling through a specific pattern or experience that you just keep kind of repeating, please reach out, and we'll figure out a way to bring you on, whether it's a phone call or like a little Zoom type session, or maybe even in person. I'm located in LA, California, but I will find a way. And if you're not comfortable with like actually coming on, you just have a question, I'll make sure there's a way for you to reach out to me and email that question, and then I'll be sure to either answer it directly to you there, or if I think it has some value for the rest of everybody watching, then I'll include it on an episode, and we can talk about anonymity and all those things later. But yeah, I just wanted to get this first episode out in the hopes that, give you a little bit of background on who I am, introduce you to who I am, so maybe you'll feel called to continue listening to my input. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and until next time.